Hi guys, it's Ray, and today I'm going to show you how I made this compact, super functional kitchen sink box.
It's got a tile countertop, a power outlet, a vessel sink, a rechargeable pump, fresh and gray water tanks, room for a trash can, 3 drawers, and a removable magnetic spice rack, plus a colorful backsplash with a ledge for a small TV.
I'll show you how I made it, give you the dimensions, and break down the cost. Let's get to it. I used a mixing bowl for the sink. I just drilled a hole and put a drain in it.
It lifts in and out for easy cleaning, and it slides right inside the gray water tank below. Here's a closer look at the 3-gallon water jugs I'm using. The faucet is a USB rechargeable pump that's made to sit on top of a water jug in an office. I installed a waterproof power outlet flush with a counter for my electric water kettle. And then I made the backsplash with 100 national park stickers.
The cabinet has a slot here for a narrow trash can. And then over here I have 3 pull-out drawers. The top 2 are for coffee. Up here I've got coffee beans and that clever dripper thing. It's pretty damn cool. So up here I have a magnetic spice rack. And to keep these stuck on while I'm bouncing around, I put an extra little magnet there in the back. I've got some bottles here for olive oils and other things, and they got little shock cords here, hold them in place. But the best thing is it's removable, so I can pull this thing out, take it with me when I want to cook outside. And speaking of cooking outside, now I've got the whole sink box out here on this picnic table in this beautiful park. And you can see here the spice rack is now full of spices, and I've added some dry rub and some cinnamon to the mix down there. And then the ledge here is a little bit wide.
I'll show you how I made the spice rack in a minute, but first, the basics. I started by building a box 28 inches wide by 11 inches deep by 17 inches high using 1/2 inch thick birch plywood. It's open in the front and the back to save weight. The section that holds the water jugs is 15.5 inches wide, and I have a wood support slat in the back to keep them from sliding out. The slot for the trash cans is 4 3/4 inches wide by 11.5 inches high. The cubby below is 3 3/4 inches high. The slots for the clear bins are 6 1/4 inches wide. The top slot is 6.5 inches tall. The middle and bottom slots are 4 1/4. The countertop is 15 inches deep, 4 inches deeper than the basic box. I gained that extra space when the passenger seat is leaned forward all the way. I used my cordless drill and a 1 3/4 inch hole saw to cut the hole for the power outlet. It sits flush, and the cord just hangs off the backside. I connect it to an extension cord that runs to my power station. For the sink hole, I use a 2.5 inch, no, wait a minute, not that kind of sink hole, this kind. I used a 2.5 inch hole saw to cut directly above the gray water jug. The sink drain drops straight down and into the container, so no leaks. The actual drain pipe is only 1.5 inches in diameter, but you need to cut the hole big enough to accommodate the nut holding it in place, and that's 2.5 inches. And speaking of hole saws, I used yet another one to cut the hole in the mixing bowl. You need to be really careful when cutting steel. Make sure you're using a bimetal hole saw blade, wear eye protection and gloves, and file down the jagged edges after you make the cut. The backsplash is 28 inches wide by 8 3/4 inches high and 3.5 inches deep. The sides are 2 by 2. I needed thicker wood here to mount the folding shelf brackets. The top ledge is a 1/2 inch thick. I added the stickers and sprayed the whole thing with a polyurethane spray. The faucet mounts on a swivel so I can adjust it where I need it. I cut a small piece of wood the same width as the upper ledge, and I rounded the ends with a jigsaw. Then I glued a wood circle to one end and wrapped it in black gaffer's tape so the pump would slide on and off easier. I have another wood circle on the other end and attach it to the upper ledge using a 3 inch long, 1/2 inch threaded hex bolt, 2 washers, and a wing nut.
If you find this video interesting, please like it and subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it.
Indulge me for a second here. When putting something like this into your build, you should always be thinking about safety. Because the box sits flush against the back of my passenger seat, I'm not worried about it moving forward if I have to slam on the brakes, but I did want to lock it down to the floor to keep it from lifting up. I have these locking cam latches, they're made for boats, that I mounted in 2 positions on the floor and also in 2 places on the box. One is on the bottom left side and the other is on the bottom right side. The hoop part flips over the latch and then you clamp it down. It's a quick on and off. Looking at the front of the box again, with the water jugs pushed all the way back, the spice rack snaps into place with the help of 6 small door catch magnets. The rack measures 15.5 inches square and 1 3/4 inches deep. And speaking of the spice rack, here's how I made it.
And these are sides of the same size. This is very thin birch plywood background. And then the ledge here is a little bit wider because I knew I wanted those plastic bottles to sit on top of it. And then up here is where the spices are. And I use, this is that adhesive strip that chefs use to hang their knives vertically and in other magnetic cooking tools. And so I bought these spice tins that are square because, number one, you get more spice actually in a square than a circle of the same size. But then it has more magnet size to grip and to hold on. There's more of that. So I put a few strips of this stuff up there, and I use a little bit of epoxy. It comes with an adhesive tape on the back of it, but I added epoxy because I thought it would help hold, and it did. And then down here I have a wooden dowel to keep it, because sometimes on the bumpy roads when you're driving, these will vibrate on the bottom, and they have dropped off. So by adding that dowel in place, they just don't come loose at all. And then you look down here and I have the shock cords. That's for holding these plastic bottles in place. And this stuff is just made out of this shock cord, also called paracord. Anyway, and you just have 3 pieces of that. And then on the sides of it, you tie a knot. So I'm going to lay this thing down flat and show you here, but you have a knot tied on the end of it. If you look, the key to making this a flat flush is to use what's called a countersink bit. That's this thing right here. And it has a special little area down there to cut it out like a cone. And so I have a small hole for the cord to go through, and then that little cone shape, and then this little knot then rests inside of it, and it's able to sit flush inside of it. And so I've got a piece of the shock cord right here, and it shows, so you're just going to tie a knot on one end of it, and you might get a piece a little bit longer. Get a piece that's a little bit longer than your overall thing, pull it through, the hole, and then, get it as tight as you want to get it, and then tie a knot on the other side. Make sure it's really tight so that you have plenty of friction there. And then you just cut off the extra outside of that knot, and you're left with these 3 strips. They just work great. They're amazing. I can't talk highly enough of that. So now I'm going to show you how I made these loops, finger loops in here to pull this out. I'll show you around the back. That's just one shorter piece and each end of it has a knot on it. So you have one small hole drilled back there, and then just a knot on either end. And then when you pull it through, it holds itself in place and doesn't pull out. So nice and tight. I'm going to show you the magnets on the bottom of this thing. That's how it sticks in too. On the bottom, I have 3 magnets that match it over on the base, but then also on the back up here at the top, I have 3 magnets. And that helps snap this thing and hold it into place.
And the last thing I added to the box build was this extended wood brace where I mounted a quick connect rail for an outside table. That table doubles as a shelf inside the van. It sits on top of my front seats and holds my stove and air fryer at night, but I also use it outside.
So this shelf has 2 quick connects on it, and I hooked the monopod up down here.
As the saying goes, everything in van life has to serve 2 or more purposes. I can take the shelf from inside and use it outside as a workbench.
And out here away from the van, that same shelf makes for a great food prep table. It's at the perfect height. It's got plenty of space for the stove, the sink, and I have the faucet. And down here, you can see how it connects. I have another quick connect rail on the outside of the sink box here.
Okay, that's it for the build. Here are all the materials I used and what it cost. For the main box, I spent $35 on wood, $12 for wood glue, and $2 for some wood screws, $40 for the peel and stick tile, $25 for the waterproof power outlet. The aluminum hand towel holder was $10. I paid $60 for a set of 3 mixing bowls, even though I only wanted 1. I gave the other 2 away. I paid $19 for the sink drain. Make sure it's the kind without an overflow. $14 for the USB rechargeable water pump with hose, $9 for 1/4-inch braided sleeving, $8 for the Osprey 1/4-inch tube quick connect, and $22 for an inline water filter. 2 3-gallon water containers set me back $20. $19 for 2 narrow trash cans, $24 for 3 clear organizer bins. For the backsplash, $12 for a pair of 8-inch folding shelf brackets, $6 for National Park stickers, and $10 for polyurethane spray. For the spice rack, $15 for magnetic strips, $11 for E6000 glue, $23 for magnetic spice tins, $12 for round rare earth magnets, $6 for shock cord, $3 for a wood dowel, $33 for clamp locking latches, and $20 for magnetic cabinet and door latches. These last few things I'm not including in the total because I already own them. I spent about $20 for a 1 3/4 inch and a 2.5 inch hole saw blade, and a whopping $33 for a countersink drill bit. Yeah, it's pricey, but I've used it on a ton of other stuff. So not including those, All that comes to a grand total of $470. Definitely not cheap. But there are plenty of ways to make it cheaper than I did. Maybe you already have some wood. That'll save $35. You can get stick-on tile for half the price I paid. That's 20 bucks. Don't need a power plug? Save 25 bucks. You can get a mixing bowl at Walmart for less than $10. Drop it another 50. You can save $17 if you skip the braided sleeve and the water tube quick connect. You probably don't need a $22 water filter. If you don't need a folding backsplash, save another $12. That would knock over $180 off right there. Now that I think about it, why did I spend so much? Oh, I know. It's because I don't have any self-control. I need to work on that. A final thought. I do like having the option to move the sink way out here in nature, but it does weigh 23 pounds and the water jugs weigh another 20 pounds, give or take. It's not practical. So most of the time, I just keep it close to the van. Until next time, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.